you have a signed seat?
I do.
I didn't.
I've sat there for a long time.
Is everybody here? It's gonna be you.
So it looks like it's Father Mike's turn tonight, huh?
That's what they're telling me.
Is that your boss here? I'll talk to him. Don't you know I have a gavel in my hands?
Just don't know how to work it.
What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. The case is too thick. Can't shut it off.
Okay, we'll call this town council public meeting to order for November 20th, 2018. We'll stand and pledge allegiance to the flag, and after that, we'll have a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd just like to say, keep the folks in California in our thoughts.
Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan is absent. Julie Rivera, here.
Wait. Father Mike, do you want to lead us in prayer?
At the microphone, if you're
Yes,
used
sir.
to that or not.
I'm unaccustomed to public speaking.
I know.
Mr. Austin?
Before you start, Father, will everyone here also remember and keep in your prayers and thoughts the family of Brian Less. Brian is an attorney, practiced in Hebron for a long time. He lives now in St. John and raised his family there. His daughter was a victim of the shooting in Chicago yesterday.
Oh, my gosh.
If you could keep the Less family in your prayers.
So we bow our heads in the presence of the one who called everything into being out of love. And we invoke you, O God, with first of all thanksgiving for the bounty of the harvest that you provide us, which is the fruit of the earth and the work of our hands. And as we thank you for the harvest, we ask you to help us to grow in our ability to share that abundance with those who want. We thank you for the blessings of peace in our community and our nation. We ask you to help us to seek peace for more who seek greater stability in their lives. We thank you for the gift of freedom by which we choose our leaders, by which we chart our own course. And we ask you to help us extend those blessings of freedoms to those who live under tyranny. We thank you for the gift of life. We ask you to help us to find ways to preserve and protect the lives of those who are vulnerable around us, those who are addicted to drugs, those who seek ways out of poverty, those who are surrounded by violence, that we might be the children you call us to be. We make all these intercessions in your great name, now and forever.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan is absent. Julie Rivera,
Here.
Ralph Miller,
Present.
Randall Niemeyer,
Present.
Richard Sharp,
Here.
John Foreman,
Present.
Greg Parker.
Here.
Jill Murr, Town Administrator. Here. David Austin, Town Attorney.
Present.
Okay, is there any public comment on agenda items only? Any public comment on agenda items only? Okay. You're sure? We'll move on to the consent agenda. We need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the October 20th, 2018 public meeting. Claims, all town funds, $347 $1,077.75. Wastewater operating $310,376.60. Water utility $79,816.43. Stormwater $52,519.69. 2017 RDA A and B construction $687,347.24. Payroll October 18th through November 1st and 15th, 2018. $564,862.27. Manual journal entries October 1st through the 31st, 2018. Motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes, except the consent agenda as listed.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rivera, second by Mr. Sharp. Mr. Miller,
Yeah.
you guys sound the same sometimes. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carried 6-0. Ordinances, resolutions. Ordinance number 1311, wastewater system development charge amendment. Mr. Foreman, can you do the introductory reading on ordinance number 1311?
I can. Is it okay for title only?
Yes, there will be a public hearing on this on December the 4th.
Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1311. An ordinance amending the town ordinance number 1248, being an ordinance amending town ordinance 978, being an ordinance amending town ordinance 926 of the town council of the town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, concerning charges for sewer services and all matters related thereto, repealing all ordinances and town code sections or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and all matters related thereto, repealing all ordinances and town code sections or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and also all matters related thereto.
Okay, that's the introductory reading of ordinance number 1311. Jill, you have an explanation for that?
Council, one of the things you had asked to be looked at were system development fees and any fees with new development. So that is one of the fees we looked at. The amendment proposed here would increase the system development fee from $2,200 to $3,500 for a 5/8 to 3/4 inch service line. And as a matter of fact, Sue Hayes from London Woody Group financial advisor is here if you had any questions for her and wanted her to explain the
Mr. President,
arrival of the fee.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Sue.
Go ahead.
So we know what the purpose of these charges is, to help expand our system as we grow and have the growth pay for the growth. Can you tell us a little bit of the details that went into coming up with those different rates at the different flow ratios? Just what that means, how those rates were come up with, what kind of things were considered?
When you do a system development calculation, you put it in terms of what we call an equivalent unit, which your equivalent unit is typically your residential unit, which is the 5/8 3/4 inch line, which is the smallest line, the smallest equation possible. And then what it is that means for a development, the developer coming in and wanting to develop, that for each home that is going to be developed, you will collect now. You have been collecting $2,200. You will be collecting $3,400. And what this charge does is when you get a new customer coming on, they are using up your current capacity and potentially causing you to have to incur additional costs for expanded capacity. This rate is meant so that you do not go back to your existing customers who have already been paying all along for capacity and debt for that expanded capacity. You're putting everybody on a level playing field. And when you have larger customers, they are, like in an example would be a 1-inch service line is approximately 2.5 times what the 5/8 inch is. So they're taking that capacity away from your system, and they are paying to bring them up to what I call shoulder to shoulder with everybody else who's been on your system all along. Anybody over the 1.5-inch service line, we have the calculation for that, how the calculation will work, because it depends, it has a lot to do with the type of customer that's coming in and what their flow is going to be on the line. It's not something that fits into the norm. Because if you have a manufacturer that has certain large processes going on, then they are going to use the maximum amount of the flow possible on their size line, and they're taking up your capacity. So therefore, put them on the level playing field with every other customer that is existing on your line right now today.
Super.
That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anybody have anything else for Phil?
Thanks for coming.
Okay. We've heard the introductory reading for ordinance number 1311. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the introductory reading.
Or a second?
I'll second the motion made by Randy.
Motion by Mr. Niemeyer, second by Mr. Foreman. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes?
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Resolution number 1231, confirming budget transfers. Jen?
Yes, Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, confirming resolution number 1231, a resolution confirming the authorization of appropriation transfers by the clerk treasurer for the following funds during the budget year. Did you want me to read the general, did you want to read this, Jen, or?
I thought you were gonna say we're the trouble.
This is just a confirming resolution for some transfers that were made. They were, within the general fund, a total of $9,000 was transferred within the fire department's budget. This was at the request of your fire chief, for some upcoming repairs and parts and, payments that need to be made to settle up through the end of the year.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 1231.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Niemeyer, second by Mr. Sharp. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. New business, item number 1, South Shore subdivision, change order number 5, amendment. Jill?
Council, at your last meeting, you had approved change order number 5 for South Shore. However, there has been an amendment to it. There was an item that was left off, which caused an increase of $112. So the change order total now is $2,352, and I just need your approval on that amendment.
Anybody have any questions about that?
No?
And it has been reviewed by Don Oliphant at FERC.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second Ralph's motion.
Motion by Mr. Miller, second by Mr. Foreman. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item number 2, under new business, request for elimination of sanitary sewer billing at 13007 Fulton Street. Jill?
Council, this house was demoed back in 2007. However, they had kept the sewer tap open, thinking they were going to rebuild or do something there. It has since been capped and reviewed and inspected by our utility staff at Public Works. So it is our recommendation that you approve this agreement for the elimination of sewer billing at 13007 Fulton.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Niemeyer, second by Mr. Foreman. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Item number 3, engagement agreement, VS Engineering Maintenance and Improvement Plan.
Council, back in 2016, VS Engineering did our maintenance and improvement plan, also known as our asset management plan of all our roadways. It's that time to update that again. This is a requirement of applying for any future community crossing grants. I had gotten a proposal from VS to update that plan and develop an update summary, as well as develop preliminary cost estimates on future road work. The lump sum fee to complete this is $9,820, and it's anticipated this work would be completed before the end of the year.
Okay,
Excellent. I'll make a motion to approve the engagement agreement with VS Engineering for the amount of $9,820.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Ms. Rivera. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. Reports, town council.
I just want to announce that there's going to be a fundraiser this Sunday for the family that lost their home in Winding Creek Estates. It's the Moen Family Fundraiser. It's going to be at Grand Tots this Sunday at noon. It doesn't have a cost on here, but there's food and raffle items.
Actually, I think I have that information here somewhere. Or if you'll, somebody sent that to me the other day.
Well, it says $5 per person, $20 for a family of 5.
No, you do have it.
Very good.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I normally don't bring up any political stuff in here, but I just want to take a moment to thank everyone in a public meeting for the opportunity to serve for a third term. Running the first 2 times was it was very interesting and eye-opening. To be elected to a third term was extremely humbling. I didn't quite know what to say that night as the results came in. It really kind of it shocked me that the people would support me like they did, and I really appreciate it and the opportunity to serve this community, the place where I grew up and I'm raising my family. It's not something I take lightly. So thanks to everyone for the chance, and I'll do my best to not let you down. Thank you.
To piggyback off that, I did not have an opponent this election, but I still got out there, met people, got ideas from them. I didn't just take a nap during this campaign season, and met a lot of great new people. And again, I'm happy to serve as well in another term.
Very nice. Thanks, guys.
Any other town council reports? Town attorney?
3 items, Mr. President. First, this is the time of the year for the annual renewal of the farm lease with Huseman Farms Incorporated for our 114-acre parcel. I've been requested to present that to you. I have an agreement that carries the same terms, changes the years.
Is that something we want to put on the next month's agenda, Jill, or Mr. Austin? Are you looking for us to amend tonight's agenda?
I would suggest that you just ministerially handle it, add the agenda, and if I make the rest of my report, maybe there'll be a couple things you want to add to the agenda, maybe not. But this item is before you, based upon that inquiry and request of that farm vendor. Second thing, there was a suddenness to a stream of information that passed around the community pertaining to the Project Love Food Pantry and the land use approvals that occurred related to that facility, that project, and the like. I have been in periodic communication with Bill Kuhn, who's here. So there's no misunderstanding, and there's no misunderstanding. He has something to say about that. There is not going to be request for a waiver of fees. But I prefer he say it than me because it's his call, not mine.
Good evening, council.
Good
Bill
evening.
Kuhn, 13951 Hughesman, Cedar Lake. Had a little eye surgery today, so I had to write it really big. These are not my words, but these are the words of the whole board of directors of Project Love. My Project Love Food Pantry and Opportunity Center won't ask for a reduction in building permit fees. First, a little bit about our mission. The new facility will provide for a food pantry and will include an opportunity center. Our mission is to serve our community by providing assistance to those in need with compassion, respect, and dignity. Our goal is to help feed and educate. We recently expanded our territory of service to the entire southern half of Lake County, Indiana, south of 101st Avenue. This includes the townships of Hanover, Center, Winfield, West Creek, Cedar Creek, and Eagle Creek. We are currently serving 250 families per month. That being said, the reason we have not asked for a reduction in permit fees is simply that the fees cover the cost of inspections and added infrastructure. Reducing the fees means taxpayers are donating to our cause, whether they like it or not. This would start a trend that any not-for-profit should be given permit fee breaks, whether we taxpayers support these causes or not. This is not the way we wish to raise funds for this amazing endeavor. Simply put, Project Love is just as the name implies. All our donations have been given with love for our project. We have great ways of raising money, including selling bricks for our patio of love. These bricks are 2 inches thick and come in 3 sizes, 12 by 12 for $300, a little advertising here. 8 by 8 for $200 and 4 by 8 for $100. These bricks can be engraved with your company logo, a message of love, or a memory of a loved one. The engraving is then painted with the same paint that is used on United States postal mailboxes for long-lasting durability. If you'd like to purchase a brick or donate or need more information, please email my wife. It's Karen@22258@gmail.com. We are not going to force you to support us. We are simply just going to ask. Thank you to the town council, administrators, building department, public works, fire, and police departments that have already bought bricks or have pledged to do so. It is very much appreciated. And also thank you to the town attorney.
Great, and thanks to you, all the work you've been doing and everybody, so that's awesome.
Mr. President, can I say something to Bill?
I'll reach.
I appreciate you reading that, Bill. I mean, there was some controversy stirred up and some opportunism. I look at these things, through kind of a black and white lens, where if a waiver is applied for something that's a direct public service, like what you guys are providing, which is really direct public service, I would consider that any time. If somebody applies for a waiver that doesn't necessarily have a direct public benefit, I mean, it's great what these non-for-profits, that all different non-for-profits do, but state statute's pretty clear for how we act with the interest of public funds as it relates to donating or giving services or funds to other entities, is that there has to be a direct public service in order for it to meet that statutory requirement. So in my mind, if you look at the statute, you would fit that. But I do appreciate you guys analyzing that, having a very thoughtful approach. And I would hope that in the future, if people are considering building things in the town or doing something where they need some consideration from the town of Cedar Lake, that they first consider, its true public benefit, which, like you said, you serve 250 families now. As the community grows, that's bound to grow. And I'm just excited for you guys that you're launching this, and you've worked so hard to raise all this money. And God has blessed you with the opportunity to steward that money for all of his people. So you guys will do a great job, and I'm sure you'll impact people very positively.
Thank you, Councilman Niemeyer. And also, the fact that we do provide these benefits for other towns and communities besides Cedar Lake, that was another one of our considerations too. So, and on the last note, I have a sample of the brick here. I
love it.
So,
Gratuitous advertising. It's fantastic.
Is that the 4x8?
Are you going to go work for OxyClean next?
I've got a little something to add to that too. I called Bill the day after that controversy started to occur. And I'm still yet to understand that, because you can't grant a waiver of anything to someone that doesn't request it.
Yeah.
There was nothing ever requested. And to make the town or the town council sound like the big bad wolf because no one offered to waive a fee, that isn't what this entity is supposed to do. If someone requests a fee, it should be reviewed and see if it is legitimate for a fee waiver. But if nobody requests a fee waiver, that's not a legitimate complaint for anybody, as far as I'm concerned. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
well, and that's true. And what people didn't know at the time is the council's already been very generous to Project Love and the town and the departments and everything else. And somehow that never gets out when things start going like that. So, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Clerk treasurer? Oh, I'm sorry.
More
Okay,
attorney.
one more point.
One more. Yeah, you had 3. I'm
That
sorry.
was number 2, and I, thank you, I could not out BK. Thank you, BK. Third, last but not least, and certainly not least, over the past, I guess since maybe 2007, when it all started, but over the past couple of years, we've been negotiating and in dialogue with Lake County over the 911 emergency service circumstances. And as a consequence, we have Southcom PSAP now, and in your partnership with Cherville, that negotiation with Lake County over funds and facilities has continued to this moment. Recently, and very recently, those dialogue activities have resulted in the disposition of this matter by agreement, if you so choose. We have identified the exact amount of fees that have been paid, the 911 fees from the state to Lake County, for which Lake County is accountable to us. And we've also identified the expense or cost for the improvement or construction of modern Spillman service and the responsibility of Southcom for participation in that part of the service. The records have reflected, and we have negotiated that the Southcom portion of the on-call or the volume gross against Southcom's for purposes of distribution of funds is 3.5%. And against the total, that 3.5% will be applied for payment to this entity, Southcom entity, of funds on a monthly basis going forward hereafter. You have before you a proposed settlement agreement that encompasses those provisions. The town of Cherville, your partner, last night in a public meeting, considered and acted on this item as I have reported to you, and they unanimously, as a council, approved entry into this agreement. I'm not certain that you're ready for that. I won't assume that. I didn't assume it last night. However, I can report to you that if this was an item to be considered and acted upon, and the signature agreement was, or signature component of the agreement was made, that the Lake County Commissioners will consider this matter at their December 5th public meeting. If not, it'll fall in the due course of meetings, but that seems to be a timetable that can work pending your thought process and deliberation here. It's not an agenda item. I just
Mr. Chairman?
received data.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to consider 2 items. The first one would be the farm lease presented by the town attorney. The second one would be the mutual release and settlement agreement for E911 presented by the attorney.
I'll second that.
One motion to amend the agenda for 2 items, right?
Correct.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Niemeyer, second by Mr. Miller. Roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
First item then would be the farm lease.
Yeah, you may want to act separately so that the record's clear
Correct.
on these items.
I would like to make a motion to enter into another year with the Huseman family for the 114 acre farm lease.
Second.
Mr. Austin, what is that per acre?
It's $150 per acre. That's been consistent over the past handful of years.
Okay. Thank you.
Who made the second on that?
I did.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Mr. Sharp. To accept,
Mr. President, there's a lot of fun being had down here. Just, we don't mean,
No.
we don't mean to distract you.
To enter an agreement for the farm lease.
yes, to approve the agreement for the farm lease. Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Mr. Sharp. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, roll call, please.
Julie Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer.
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion to enter into the mutual release and settlement agreement on behalf of the town of Cedar Lake.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Niemeyer, second by Mr. Miller.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Sure.
If this is successful at Lake County, which I hope it will be, and I'm optimistic it will be, this will put the end to quite a long saga. I was involved in hours upon hours upon hours of meetings and phone calls and wrangling, arguments, debate. It's really an interesting process. And what it really boiled down to for us is back when this mandate was put upon us, the state wanted everybody to join the statewide system. It's an 800 megahertz system, which we are now a part of. Lake County chose their own path, which was a 700 megahertz system. The great thing, I think, for our community, although we're not connected with every Lake County agency, one of the positives is eventually we will be, because that's a part of the mandate as well. And second, we are now backed up by the entire state. So if something happens to our site, we don't have to have a dark site. We don't have to have anybody necessarily specially trained to back us up or have other equipment. The city of Evansville could be our backup. Indianapolis could be our backup because we're all on the same network. So that was the whole intent of the whole thing, was to join that network. We are part of it. It's working pretty well. I know that sometimes for the chiefs, it gives them a little heartburn not being able to communicate directly with some of their neighbors, but that is coming down the road because that is a part of what was intended by the whole mandate. So these things are going to be closed, the little loopholes there, and I'm just excited that if the county accepts this, that we can put this behind us and move forward.
Mr. President, this initiative has been before this council and your predecessor since 2007. The first meetings that occurred that kicked this thing off included a sheriff by the name of Roy Dominguez. It was back when Roy was the sheriff, that far back, and going forward. It crossed every legislative body in this county. It had intense debate. It had angry argument. It had litigation. It had everything to it. But you've gotten to the backside. And this was a hard-fought, well-earned disposition that was worth waiting for. One last thing, Mr. President, may I suggest that the motion be amended to add 3 generic conditions. One, that this is contingent upon the Lake County Commissioners approving the agreement, the Lake County Council approving the agreement, and verification to the extent deemed appropriate by the staff, as they're meeting shortly on this, of the numbers.
I concur.
Also.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Julia Rivera,
Yes.
Ralph Miller,
Yes.
Randall Niemeyer,
Yes.
Richard Sharp,
Yes.
John Foreman,
Yes.
Greg Parker.
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Clerk treasurer?
I anticipate having final 2018 budget reductions in front of you for your first meeting in December. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Town administrator and staff?
Council, wanted to let you know we're working on the design agreement with Christopher Burke Engineering for the Highland area. That's that area that was kind of left off of when we did Vermillion many years ago, when we did High Grove, the area you asked us to look at. Survey work will begin, but we will have a proposal in front of you for your next meeting. There are some items we were still ironing out on that. Additionally, we're looking at having your 2019 salary ordinance. If you remember when we did the budget, we were talking about doing an increase of 2%. So we're finalizing those numbers and planning on presenting that to you at your next meeting. If you don't mind, if I could roll into some of the written communication we have in front of us.
Sure.
Hanover Community School Corporation Superintendent Mary Tracy McCauley sent me a letter. I received it late last week. As we're aware, in the area, one of the things everyone's been focusing on and with good cause and reason is stop arm violations when people are around a stop school bus. One of the initiatives Hanover Schools has implemented is the Hanover Hazard Initiative, where they're working with local communities to support their bus drivers, turning on hazard lights. They're identifying hot spots where they're having issues with people violating the stop arm laws. And I know they are working with our chief in the area and have had constant communications. One of the things they asked is if the town would be willing to assist in their endeavor by purchasing signs for some of these various identified hotspots. So I wanted to bring this to you that will, I would gander that we would support this endeavor. We are still working on it, and costs have not been identified, and those conversations are still occurring. So Chief Colson may be able to report a little more on communications he's had with the school, if you would like.
Mr. President, may I add something to the administrator's report?
Sure.
At our last RDC meeting, this was brought to us by school board member Denny Wilkening, and he wanted the RDC's involvement. I thought it was more of a police department, town council matter. It's a public safety matter. Some of the areas of hotspots that may need some consideration may need some intervention of the town with the state of Indiana to place signs on US 41. But I thought this was a very good proposal by Denny, and what I had asked him to do was to get with the people in the administrative office at Hanover Schools to identify hotspots, to communicate with the chief, but then to gather some data so we can really put some numbers and a story behind this. But yeah, I agree with the town administrator. This is a very worthy thing to pursue in partnership with Hanover Community Schools.
I agree.
Personally seen at least 2 or 3 cars pass school buses on Parish Avenue in the last 10 years. So it's pretty insane to think that people do it, but they do it. So that's a great initiative.
So we will probably continue to report back to you on this initiative as it moves forward. And I would assume we're going to work with both school corporations. It's not just, or all three if they need it.
Sure.
If you have anything to add on that?
Yes, just as a follow-up, had several meetings and conversations with not only the superintendent, but also the director of security for Hanover Community Schools. Been in touch with the director of security for Crown Point Schools, and we are identifying those problem spots. In fact, we've done, through the school, they put out a query with all the bus drivers to identify those areas, those locations, bus stops that have had violations. So we're anticipating starting next week doing a proactive officer presence as well as working with the director of security for the school to implement some enforcement action starting on Monday. Through the holiday this week, the 3 days are off this week, but we anticipate starting next week.
Okay, thank you.
Your next written communication, I have put together the public notice and press release for board and commission openings. For the redevelopment commission, there will be the 5 vacancies. That's an annual appointment. Your stormwater board will have 1 vacancy, police commission will have 1 vacancy, and your board of zoning appeals has 1 vacancy. There's no one up on plan commission this year. If it's all right with you, I will continue with that advertisement and try and get the applications in by December 12th. That kind of gives us a little bit of time to bring them back for your review. You have your
Sounds good.
Christopher Burke engineering report, kind of closing out things, closing out some of our projects and getting ready and planning for new projects. And then additionally, the Summerfest resolution for 2019, if it is all right with you, I will begin working with Summerfest and get that resolution to a form we can bring back to you for consideration and approval.
Okay,
Sounds great.
I believe that's all I have this evening as of right now.
you don't need action on any of that, though. That's just stuff you're working on.
And it's annual, some of that's annual.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Doesn't have to be agenda items on this one. No public comment? Seeing none, we're adjourned.
Gotta hit the gavel, Mr. President. All right.
It's the funnest part, is having a gavel. Come on.
I was on Sunday, I was,